Good to have him with us today is Bob Weiner. Now, Bob is a former Clinton White House spokesman. So this guy's big time, right? He knows what's going on. And let's see, he's a national Democratic strategist. He was the director of the 2008 and 2012 Democratic National Convention's press briefing room where Obama was nominated. And he's now a White House and Congress correspondent. Bob, good to have you on the John Fredericks Show.
John, it's a pleasure, and this has been a year in the making with you and me having the chance to talk. Thanks for what you do.
Well, we try to bring people the truth, both sides of the aisle, and get to know what's going on. Now, we got a lot to talk about today. We got about 16 minutes, so we got to really roll here.
We don't have 3 hours and 90 seconds. I know that.
Oh my God, that's the biggest segue. I was there live. I was at the debate. I saw the whole thing. Saw the two debates. There were 5 hours combined when it was all said and done. But I really thought that 3-hour debate, Bob, was ridiculous. I mean, 2 hours was plenty enough. And,
right.
CNN ran around saying, we need the extra hour to get into substantive issues. And then they're asking questions like, do you think Carly Fiorina has a pretty face? And what would you name your dog at the White House? And whose picture would you put on a dollar bill? I mean, the thing was ridiculous. It was CNN turned into the clown news network.
Well, first of all, the fact that you went out there to represent your station and the people that listen nationwide on your streaming, John, is outstanding. And I was jealous that you were there, so I'm very proud of you for doing that. Here's the thing,
Thanks,
John. This was a Republican spin debate. When you have the co-moderator, Hugh Hewitt from Salem Radio, saying to all the debate people he's interviewing there, you're all better than Hillary, as his way of framing the question, what kind of moderator for the American people to be objective is that? And I heard Bernie in the segment, the little tease that you did in the build-up, where he said there wasn't poverty and justice asked. Well, more than that, the moderators never asked, how about the people that have that are now insured, the 1/3 drop in uninsured under the health care bill? So you guys are against that? What about the fact that there's an infrastructure bill that you blocked? And by the way, Josh Earnest, the White House press secretary, called on me to ask a question. That's what I asked. Well, how can the Republicans blame the Democrats when they blocked the infrastructure bill that would have reduced unemployment by a point and added 1 million jobs? So how come that you guys have a policy of tax breaks for the rich instead of jobs, which CBO, the Congressional Budget Office, and the Library of Congress both say is 5 times more effective? Infrastructure jobs is 5 times more effective than tax breaks as a job creator. So why couldn't the moderators ask anything like that? And they wouldn't, because it was all pandering to the Republicans' political philosophy. So it was really an outrageous education point for the Democrats, and it makes the case for the Democrats to get up quick with these debates. I mean, I know we're headed for October 13th, but the point is that we should have more because they are spokesvoices for our side.
Well, we want to get to the Democrats and their debates in a couple minutes, Bob. So hold that thought. Bob Weiner, we're with him, former Clinton White House spokesman, national Democratic strategist. I want to get back to the GOP debate because I kind of agree with you. There was a lot of spin going on. There was a lot of pre-spin setting up Carly Fiorina, the establishment Republicans looking for somebody to take on Trump. Let's get to the GOP debate. I thought clearly Trump was the winner because he was under siege for basically the first hour and a half, everybody attacking him as CNN tried to have everybody throw spaghetti at each other like a food fight. I thought Trump won the debate. I think the polls are going to reflect that. What say you?
Well, they do. By about 50 to 20, Trump won the Newsmax poll and the Drudge poll and all the polls that are out there. There's a series of them. And Trump was the winner in all of them, even though the media is trying to say Fiorina was the big winner in the debate. In fact, she wasn't. She was seen as a little testy, but she threw some facts out. The thing about Fiorina that the American people have got to understand is a good interview does not make a good president. It doesn't make you a good administrator. And she was horrible at Hewlett-Packard. She drove them into the ground. She lost money in market, and she was fired for it. And so Trump has an absolutely good point when he raises that about her.
that is going to be the key as she raises. The establishment they're going from candidate to candidate to try to find somebody to take Trump out. But I think you nailed it. Fiorina has had a disastrous tenure at both Lawson and Hewlett-Packard.
Correct.
Both companies were complete failures.
Right.
And here's the difference with these two candidates. Trump built a $10 billion company and hired American workers.
Right.
She, on the other hand, went to Hewlett-Packard, and the first thing she did, Bob, was outsource jobs to Malaysia.
Right.
She cut 15,000 people, put those jobs in the Far East so she could get slave labor, and then she spent millions of dollars on personal image consultants flying around the United States in private jets while she had people trying to hone her image, laying people off and spending money on herself. I don't think that's the kind of person you want in the White House.
Well, and Trump has the same answer, too, and his answer to all of that kind of stuff is I used bankruptcies, and yes, I outsourced, was I'm a businessman. So, I mean, that's not an answer. I mean, if you have that philosophy in business, then you're going to have that philosophy to support it as president.
Okay, let's get to Social Security, and because you had an op-ed in the Tallahassee, Florida Democrat, which I was able to read, that I thought was very good. You've got a lot of these Republicans, except Trump, saying, well, we have to do something with Social Security, and do something means reduce it, cut it, stop it, something. Trump's the only guy that's saying, no, elect me. I'm going to keep it solvent. I'm going to try to increase it because this is a pact between people that are paid in and their government. What say you?
Well, there's three op-eds, John. That's one of them, and we'll come right back to it. The candidates are wrong on Social Security. We had a picture with Reagan, Tip O'Neill, and Claude Pepper signing the bill in 1983 that these Republican candidates all want to break the deal and break the law by stealing the money from Social Security, which seniors have paid in, using the argument that the federal government has spent the money. Well, that's beside the point. It's in the law that it says that it gets recorded as a separate trust fund. You go to Social Security's own trust fund, and it's solvent through 2035, and the law that was signed says that it will be protected, and it will through 2053 and beyond if the economy is good. So what these guys want to do is take the money for Wall Street private giveaways and privatization and use the money for tax breaks for the rich. So that's the piece that we ran, is that the candidates are breaking the Pepper, Tip O'Neill, and Reagan law, and they were going to do it, and they did. They saw this piece before they got to the Reagan Library, right before, so it got tempered a little bit, I saw in the debate, but they had it a little bit about cutting by giving you, saying the rich should pay more for Social Security. The argument there that Pepper gave me, John, is that if you take away the rich's benefit from Social Security because they paid into it's an insurance program, not a giveaway, then you take away the political support. So they're trying to chip away any way they can. And the other piece that was really key for this was a piece called Reagan's Legacy will be invoked repeatedly during the debate, but what does it really mean? And that was in the Cleveland Plain Dealer. And the point is that Reagan tripled the deficit and increased the federal government size by $500,000. So it's completely false because he used the money for a build-up for the military and tax breaks for the rich to say that Reagan's legacy is small government and shrink it. In fact, he's the guy who started the big build-up of the deficit of the federal government. And then the third one is Jeb Bush's legacy, his elephant in the room, which we had in the Des Moines Register. His elephant in the room, and the Des Moines Register did a big cartoon of this, and then Jeb dropped 5 points after we had that in Iowa, in the main paper. We always pick the main paper in each state to go after. It was that he oversaw the Bush v. Gore slow walk that cost the election to Al Gore by working with Katherine Harris. He oversaw that, was on the phone, his staff, and he said, I'm recused from that. I'm not involved, except we found 95 phone calls that he made from his private lines to people like Karl Rove and the Bush campaign during the recount, and an email when Jeb was stupid enough to release it, when he released his emails, and there was one to John Roberts right before he was named Supreme Court Justice, thanking him for his strategizing with him on how to get out of the recount. And so for him to say that he wasn't involved when he cost the country the election, and as a result we had the Iraq War and the economic crash because Bush was president and not Gore, is something that's really an elephant in the room for Jeb Bush. And I think he's tanking anyway. I think Trump's right on little energy, but that's my take on it. So I would refer your listeners to our website, if I could, John, WeinerPublic.com, WEINER Public.com, and click on op-eds, and you'll see 700 op-eds. But those three are recent ones, which I think are interesting right now in the context of the campaign.
Okay, Bob, you said a lot, and let me address these one by one, and then we have to get to the fact that your party has rigged the nominating system for Hillary Clinton, and it's
not anymore.
And you know it is. Well, come on. Now, you got to give me a chance to address some of these. I'm with you on Social Security. This is a pact that was made. That you start to work, it comes out of your check, the government makes you a deal, they say we're going to take this money out, and when you get to a certain age, you're going to get some of this money back. That's the deal. This shouldn't be touched. That's why I'm with Trump, and we've got to build the economy up so that we can figure out how to make it solvent and not take it away. Reagan saved it. Now, let's get to Reagan's...
But even on that, Trump is saying, I'll pay less, yes, the rich should pay more for Social Security. So that opens the door for chip away. Pelosi's game plan on Social Security, she told me this, is first do no harm.
Bob, I gave you the floor, all right? Now, you got to give me equal time, all right?
Yep.
First of all, that's not Trump's position. Okay, Trump has said over and over that he's in favor of not only saving Social Security, but increasing it. He also said in debate last night that those that make over a certain amount of money, he would ask them voluntarily to not take it if they don't need it. So let's not distort that position, okay?
Fair point.
You're entitled to your opinion, Bob, not your own facts. Now, let's go to Reagan. He did expand government, no question, but there was a strategy to this. Reagan expanded government by expanding military spending, and the strategy was he thought that the Soviets would try to keep up with them, and their strategy was if they tried to keep up militarily, that he would bankrupt the USSR, bring down the Eastern Curtain, and free Eastern Europe. That was their strategy. We paid a price for that, no question, but it would be tough to say that we're not better off with Reagan's strategy of the Soviet Union collapsing, the Berlin Wall coming down, Eastern Europe being free. So I think at least he had a strategy. Now, I'm going to agree with you on the Jeb piece. There was no question, Bob, that when Jeb Bush was the governor of Florida, that he absolutely leveraged his position and every asset he had at his disposal to ensure that those electoral votes in the end went to his brother. No question. The question really is, you need just to own up to it. And then the second question is, if Childs was governor or a Democrat was governor, would they have done the same thing? But I think it's very disingenuous for Jeb Bush now to say, oh, I was not involved in it. And the facts show that he leveraged, he took everything that he had at his disposal to be sure that those Florida electoral votes went to his brother. Agreed?
Yes, except for absolutely, he did. But would Democrats do it? Democrats are for voting rights. And John, we would have been for a full recount regardless of who, because we're stupid enough to actually be for democracy. The Republicans are vicious. The Tom DeLay, Newt Gingrich put the hammer down and disproportionately steal districts so that you can win the Congress is part of that whole thing. Gerrymandering that they do, and then which DeLay almost got put in jail for within a whisker, and also the fact that they have voter suppression all over the country. That's a Republican philosophy, which Democrats don't do. On Reagan's foreign policy, do you know that the funding that he did, though, in Afghanistan is what created bin Laden? We had him and those guys on the payroll. We created bin Laden, and that's one of the upshots of what we did through his funding. And the Soviets imploded. Yes, they imploded, but we bankrupted ourselves. We've gone from 1st to 16th in college education completion because we're paying so little toward kids' college educations now and allowing the tuitions to rise dramatically. We used to be first in the world. We're now 16th in college completions, as well as all those increased numbers you see in poverty and the decreases that the Republicans can get away with in food stamps and all of that. So we imploded our own budget, and I'm not sure that's worth it.
Well, I think it is. We can agree to disagree on that, and his move in Afghanistan, supporting the Mujahideen at the time, was also part of the strategy of trying to bankrupt the Soviets. We can debate that. Look, I got 2 minutes, Bob. Look, the Democrats have rigged the system for Hillary Clinton. They're not having any debates. They're having a fraction of debates that the GOP has.
We're having four.
Clinton gets on TV and she says, "Oh, I'll debate any place at any time, but it's not really up to me. It's up to Debbie Wasserman Schultz." Right. Why don't you guys just? You've got exactly 90 seconds, Bob. Why don't you guys just have debates?
Well, I'm not a you guys. I'm my own person. I love Hillary. She did the fundraiser for my wife's breast cancer research. She heads up the lab at George Washington Medical, and I work with her, and she actually writes responses to our op-eds. I've got a stack of letters from her, and we talk periodically and meet periodically. So I love Hillary, and I'm, in full disclosure, pro-Hillary. But Martin O'Malley has a point. We are getting out-talked by the Republican debates, and I think we should have more. So this is going to be an easy conversation. I'm with you.
Oh, I like that. See, we can find common ground. We found two things that we agree on, Bob. Actually, three. Trump won the debate. Republicans need to save Social Security, not cut it. Right. And number three, the Democrats need debates. And I feel sorry for O'Malley. I really do. I mean, he's
going nowhere.
He's going nowhere. Right.
And so is Webb, even though he's got a point on the Iraq war. I mean, so we've got three candidates. Biden's in, I'm convinced, and the news today on Biden is that he's meeting with fundraisers and he's told people that he's in. So now I'm predicting, I was, 40-60, he wouldn't. Now I'm 90-10, he's in.
Oh, Bob, now we're agreeing on another thing because I predicted 3 months ago Biden would get in and he'd be your nominee. So based on that, we have to have you back next week. I'll send you an email.
Okay.
Great debate. Love having you, Bob Weiner. Bob, former Clinton White House spokesperson, longtime Democratic strategist and operative, worked for my favorite mayor of all time when I was in New York, Ed Koch. See, it's all good.